Okay. Hello, everyone. Hopefully, you can hear me. My name is Valerie. I'm a legal assistant. Thank you for coming to our Know Your Rights presentation, hosted by Immigrant Defenders Law Center. I apologize for some technical difficulties in the beginning, so I'm going to give it a couple of minutes to see if anyone else is going to be joining us before we get started today. And in the meantime, I do want to remind everyone that this presentation is recorded. And typically on our resources page, we like to post the most recent presentation. So you may be able to find this recording on our website very shortly. In the meantime, I will be sharing my screen with the presentation slides. Okay, so I think I'll go ahead and get started. But hello, everyone. Thank you for joining Immigrant Defenders Law Center's monthly Know Your Rights presentation. We host these monthly, as I mentioned before, one in English and one in Spanish. This one is going to be our English Know Your Rights presentation. Before we get started, I do want to go over a couple of things. As I mentioned before, this presentation will be recorded. We do record this and upload them onto our social media pages, and including our resources page. So if you would like to follow up or have a refresher on this presentation afterwards, feel free to follow us on our social media pages as well as look at our resources page on our website. Additionally, I want to reiterate that I am not an attorney. I'm a legal assistant. And so if anyone has any questions regarding their loved one's immigration case or your own personal immigration case, please consult with an attorney as I will not be able to answer those questions. However, if there are any questions that come up in regards to the material that is in this presentation, feel free to leave a question in the Q&A function and I will do my best to answer. But in that case, we will get started. Okay, so to get started, as I mentioned before, this is being hosted by us at Immigrant Defenders Law Center. We are one of the largest nonprofit law firms in the country that specifically helps with removal defense representation. We also host a variety of different programs, which include, for example, our Welcoming Project. Our Welcoming Project is where we are able to share community resources, presentations such as Know Your Rights, where we host these locally in the community as well as online. And then we also host pro se asylum clinics and pro se services, which I will talk about in a little bit. And then we also have our rapid response hotline number, which I also will touch base on and how to utilize that function that we have. So to get started, it's important that we all remember our constitutional rights here in the United States. So as a reminder, it's regardless of anyone's immigration status, how long they've been here in the United States, etc. Everyone has legal rights here in the United States. And so what are those constitutional rights? The first one is the right to remain silent. And so if you are, questioned by ICE in regards to your immigration status, um, or immigration history, you have the right to remain silent and you do not have to answer those questions to an ICE agent or a federal officer. You also have the right to not answer your door without a judicial warrant signed by a U.S. judge. And on the next slide, I'll go over the example between a administrative warrant and a judicial warrant. The right to speak to an attorney. An attorney will not be granted to you, but you do have the right to consult with an attorney and look for an attorney in regards to your immigration case if you are detained by ICE or if you are in removal proceedings here in the United States. And then one of the most important right now is the right to not sign anything without an attorney present. This is really crucial, especially if you are detained by immigration authorities or any federal official, and they are asking you to sign a document in which you do not fully understand what is being said in that document. It's important to assert your right to remain silent, to not sign anything, and to consult with an attorney before signing anything. And then on the right, we have an example of something called a red card. These are available to purchase online for free. They come in a variety of languages, and so feel free to distribute these to your neighbors, to your community, or to your loved ones if you ever have it. It's just a quick reminder of the rights you have here in the United States, and it's a quick refresher. Okay. So as I mentioned before, you have the right to not answer your door without, if a judicial warrant is not presented to you. However, ICE usually typically does not have a judicial warrant. So what they try and do is they try to present an administrative warrant as a valid warrant. So it's important to understand the difference, especially if you encounter ICE at your home or any private area. So on the left, we have an example of an administrative warrant. As you can see at the very top, it is going to be issued by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security. And then at the very bottom, it's going to be signed by an immigration officer. If a warrant is not signed by a U.S. judge, it is not a valid warrant, and therefore it does not give ICE the authority to enter your home, your car, or private property whatsoever. So again, if it's not signed by a U.S. judge. On the right, we see an example of a judicial warrant. And so at the very top, we can see that instead of being issued by Homeland Security, it's issued by a court here in the United States. And then at the very bottom, it would be signed by a U.S. judge. Now, if you have more time to inspect the judicial warrant, you can double check if your name appears on the warrant or if it's the correct home address. So, for example, if ICE presents a judicial warrant, but the address is for my neighbor's house, that does not give them the authority to enter my home because my home is not listed on the warrant. So that's a quick example. However, if you do not have enough time to check the warrant, what we recommend is please check if it is a judicial warrant, which is going to be issued by a court of the United States, and then at the very bottom, it's going to be signed by a U.S. judge. And we also have examples of these on our website so that you can print out and leave on your door or your refrigerator, just as a reminder in case you do have an ICE interaction at your home. Okay, so it's important to understand what ICE enforcement may or immigration enforcement may look like as it's an ever-evolving situation, as you've probably seen on social media. And so typically at the very top, we've seen these examples of Custom and Border Patrol, ICE agents, and Homeland Security investigation. Typically, they would wear bulletproof vests that say police federal agent, police ICE, police HSI, or whatever agency that they're identifying with. And at the very bottom, we see now that there is an influx of undercover agents, especially in public. So this means that they're wearing casual clothing, wearing a face mask of some sort or face covering. Sometimes they're wearing sunglasses, anything to conceal their identity. And similarly, we're also seeing this with the cars as well. So common models that we are often seeing are undercover vehicles, but they're typically from American brands such as Ford, Chevrolet, Dodge, GMC, just to name a few. They may also have no license plates or they cover them. And then they may also have tinted windows. But again, as I mentioned before, this is an ever-changing development, and so we always recommend that you document a potential ICE sighting as well as report a potential ICE sighting if you believe you are seeing ICE in your neighborhood. Additionally, if you are living in California, California recently just passed a law called SB 805 or 805, where local and federal agents must display their badge number and name if requested, unless they're undercover. And so you can also use your right under California law to ask them to present their name and present a badge number to you. But again, feel free to take photos of this, have it as a reminder of what to look out for in case you suspect ICE in your neighborhood. Similarly, it's really important to document what ICE is doing, especially right now. So it's important to remember that you do have the right to record in public if someone is being arrested, as long as you do not interfere with the arrest. And so sometimes officers will try and not respect your right to record, and they will try and tell you to stop recording. Please, we recommend that you assess the risk of continuing to record before you continue to do so. When you are filming, it's important that you say it out loud that you are exercising your right to record this interaction. And when you continue to film, that we ask that you keep your camera focused on the officer and the enforcement agents that are doing the act of detaining someone versus the individual that's being detained or their loved ones if they're there. Similarly, if you are recording, please do not disclose any information about the person that is being detained. So that includes name, immigration history, their loved ones, or even criminal history if it's applicable. Um, and then if the ICE agents ask you to step back during the enforcement, keep filming, keep focus on the officers, but show that you are following their instructions. Again, ICE does not have the right to take your phone and delete videos or photos of the interaction, but they may try and do so. So it's really important that you protect yourself and protect your phone. And so disable Face ID and then have a 6 to 9 digit password code on your phone. Um, just a numerical like six or nine numerical password code. If you don't feel comfortable recording, that is all right. But if you still want to document what ICE is doing, you could write it down or note it on your notes app on your phone. And it's really important to note down the following. So, how many officers were there? How many vehicles were there? How many individuals were detained? Um, and then document the time and place where it happened. So, address, the time, how many people were detained. If you have information about the agency and the badge number of the enforcement officers, you could also note that down. And then most importantly, please call your local rapid response hotline. They'd be able to verify the arrest as well as connect with the family members of their loved one that's been detained as well. So what to do if you're detained by ICE? So it's important beforehand to memorize phone numbers of friends, family, or immigration attorneys that you know, or if you are being represented, to remember the phone number of your immigration attorney. If you fear returning to your home country, it's important that you state it out loud and ask for a credible fear interview. And I'll go over what a credible fear interview is and how to prepare for it in advance. If you are in Southern California, you can call IMDEF, so Immigrant Defenders Law Center's Rapid Response Legal Hotline. You can call us at 213-833-8283, and we can put you on our list for legal services for individuals that are detained by ICE. When calling, or if you're calling on behalf of a loved one, please provide the following to get started. So we ask for a name, an A number of the individual if you have it, the date of birth, and then the country of origin or their country of birth. Ask to speak with an attorney and do not sign anything without an attorney being present or without consulting with an attorney. And you may be eligible for bond, if so, request it. And if you wish to see an immigration judge, you should also request a hearing with an immigration judge if you are detained. So as I mentioned before, if someone or if you have a credible fear, if you have a fear of returning to your home country, you should state that out loud and ask for a credible fear interview. But many of us are not familiar with what a credible fear interview is. So just to give a, an explainer, a credible fear interview is conducted with an asylum officer. This is typically done over the phone, and is essentially an interview that is conducted to see if you demonstrate a credible fear of being returned to your home country. So they're going to ask, an asylum officer going to ask a series of questions in regards to the fear that you have to return to your home country, as well as follow-up questions in regards to that. So if you do ask for a credible fear interview and you want to know how to prepare for it, it's important that you think about the following questions. We use a hand as like a example. So it's about 5 questions or 5 categories of questions. So the first is what happened to you? If you were to go back to your home country, what do you believe would happen to you? Who harmed you, if it was a specific individual or part of a group? And how did they know you to be specific? Why did they threaten or harm you specifically, and why you and not someone else? Police, and this is regards to police enforcement or police authorities in your home country. So if you went to the police, and if not, how come? And if you did go to the police, what did they do? Or if they did nothing, explain that. And then other place, is there another safe location in your home country? And if yes, or if why not? So that's a little explainer about the credible fear interview. To get started with, if you have a fear of returning to your home country and you need to say that out loud and ask for a credible fear interview. Similarly, if you do have a fear of returning to your home country or fear persecution in your home country, you may be eligible to apply for asylum here in the United States. So, an important reminder is that you must apply for asylum within 1 year of entering the United States. And if it is past 1 year, you would need to provide an explanation of why you're applying past the 1 year deadline. An asylum is based on the following. It's based on persecution based on one of the following reasons or more of the like more than one of the following reasons. Based on your race, your nationality, your religion, your political opinion, or your particular social group. So for example, a particular social group can be being part of the LGBTQ community. Um, and the government of your country of citizenship cannot protect you from persecution, or the government itself is who is trying to cause you harm. If you are interested in applying for asylum, there's a couple of things to note. As of last year, in the summer of last year, 2025, under the Trump administration, there are now fees to apply for asylum. Before this, asylum was free, but as of right now, to apply for an initial asylum application, it is a $100 fee. Either to USCIS if you're applying affirmatively, so that means you are not immigration proceedings, or also $100 to your immigration court if you are in immigration proceedings. So if you're seeing an immigration judge, and that's defensive asylum. Additionally, there is an annual fee to apply for asylum as well. I believe it is a $102 fee for every year that you have an asylum application pending. However, if you do wish to apply for asylum and are living in Southern California, and just need assistance with applying for asylum, Immigrant Defenders Law Center in our office in Los Angeles, we host monthly asylum clinics. So we are unable to cover the fee as of right now, but we can help prepare the application with you, as well as filing instructions if you need assistance with that. We host these virtually every month, and so we would help walk you through it through a video call, send you your application, review your application with you, as well as go over the filing instructions if you need to get started with your asylum application. So feel free to contact us at welcoming at imdef.org if you are interested or you know someone that might be interested. So, as of right now, when people are being detained by ICE, we know that there's a bunch of terms being thrown at loved ones and online in regards to deportation. So it's important to have a little brief explanation of, you know, the the choices that detainees may have if they are detained by ICE and they are seeking deportation or removal from the United States. So the first one is ICE stipulations to removal. So this is an agreement between an individual and ICE to be deported without seeing an immigration judge or presenting a case in immigration court. So this is typically where a detainee signs an agreement between them and ICE to be deported without seeing a judge or presenting an immigration case in immigration court. It's important to note that this does not mean that someone would be removed from the United States faster. It may take months or weeks for this to be processed. And then additionally, if someone does want to present a case and they do want to try and stay in the United States, it's really important that they do not sign this document and that they continue to assert their right to see an immigration judge. The second we have is voluntary departure. This is a legal option that allows an individual to leave the United States on their own rather than being ordered deported. Some individuals may not be eligible for a voluntary departure, so it's really important to consult with an attorney to see if that is a option for you that you may qualify for. Additionally, this can only be asked by an immigration judge in front of an immigration judge and granted by an immigration judge. So it's really important that if you wish to request a voluntary departure, to present to ask to see an immigration judge and immigration court. And then lastly is something called CBP Home. So this is an entirely new program under the Trump administration. They're calling it a new self-deportation program. Basically, they're transforming the CBP One app that some people use to be paroled into, and they transformed it into the CBP Home app, where it promises that if someone self-deports back to their home country, that they would give the individual $1,000 after they leave the United States. Again, this is a very new program, and so we don't really know the implications of this in the long run. So, if someone tries to return to the United States to seek legal relief in the United States, we don't know the implications of using the CBP home program, and we also don't know how guaranteed it is that the individual would receive the $1,000 after they leave the United States. So, if you do wish to fight your immigration case in immigration court, and you wish to do so, please do not use a CBP Home app. And again, with all these options, it's really important to consult with an attorney who would be able to assess not only your immigration reliefs that are available, but as well as your options moving forward. So, how to find a detained friend or family member. So, it's really important to know that you could use ICE Detainee Locator to find someone. This is a website or this is a web page run by ICE where you can use look up someone who is under ICE custody using their name, their country of birth, and their birth date, or you can use their A number and their country of birth if you have the A number. So, you can search by A number or biological information. Or yeah. Important things to keep in mind though, it may take some time for someone to be located using ICE Locator. It can take up to 72 hours before someone appears to be under ICE custody. And so that's really important to know if you have a loved one that is detained on the same day and you're trying to locate them. Additionally, minors will not be listed on on the detainee locator website. So if it's a minor, so someone under 18 that was detained with, let's say, their parents, you can use the parents' information to locate them. For unaccompanied minors, we recommend that you call the Office of Refugee and Resettlement. You can call them at 800-203-7001 to locate the unaccompanied minor. Additionally, not listed here, but really important is if you do try and look for a loved one using their biological information, please try a variety, try different ways like of that their name is being their name may be spelled or may appear. So sometimes when someone has two last names or two middle names, it may appear differently on the system. So, for example, since I have two last names, maybe my first name will appear in the system, but not my last name, not my second last name, or maybe both of my names will appear. So we recommend that people try a variety of ways the person's name is spelled, if you only have the biological information available. And then again, if you are able to locate someone that is in ICE custody, we recommend that you do not visit if you are undocumented. These are highly secured areas. And so to avoid the risk of being detained while trying to visit a loved one at an ICE facility, please do not visit these detention centers if you are undocumented or are out of status. Again, it's really important that we remain prepared, especially within the household. And so this is applies to any emergency, but more specifically an immigration-based emergency. So how to keep your family prepared in the case that you are detained or if one of you is detained. So it's important to keep important documents together in a safe place and let everyone in the household know where to locate it. So for example, in my household, my siblings and I know that my parents' documents and our documents are located in the living room, in the red box, something like that, that everyone in the family would be able to know and locate in case of an emergency. Couple examples of important documents to keep in mind would be birth certificates, passports, financial documents, immigration documents, proof of U.S. residency. If you have some sort of status in the United States, proof of that as well. So DACA, if you have valid work permits, visas, or some form of U.S. identification, such as ID cards or driver's license, copies of that would be important. Prepare a plan of action for children and elderly family members, especially if you are responsible for their care. So think about who will care for them in the event that you are not able to. Write down information that they would need for their care. So allergies, medication, access to important documents, and then please communicate with your children in regards to this plan. We know that we do not want to scare our children, but it's also really important that they remain prepared as well in case of an emergency. And to get started, we do have a family preparedness plan example on our website. We have that available in English and Spanish under our resources page. So you may also consult with that to see what may need to be listed down in regards to your family and this and in case of the emergency of your family members. So, in the topic of documents, there are some documents that we recommend that you carry on you, and then documents that we recommend that you do not carry on you. So, on the left side, we can see some documents that we recommend that you carry with you would be some form of U.S. identification. So maybe your state documents. So if you have a driver's license, a real ID, or a California ID, or your state ID, that's something that you could be able to carry with you. If you have a work permit here in the United States, you may also carry that on you. Or if you have a green card, or if you're a legal permanent resident, you can carry your green card on you or your permanent resident card. Your red card in case you need a refresher on your rights in the case that you do have an ICE interaction, maybe your social security card, for example. And another example would be if you're in the process of some sort of immigration relief. So here at the bottom, we see an example of a I-797. This is a notice of action. So typically you receive this if you are applying for some sort of, immigration related benefit here in the United States or status. So for example, if you are in the process of adjusting your status, you may receive an I-797 in regards to your application being processed or maybe even approved if you've gotten to that point. And same thing with work permits or DACA, if you're in the process of renewing your DACA or renewing your work permit, you may receive an I-797 in the mail, letting you know that your application is being processed or maybe even accepted if it comes. And so you may also carry a copy of that on you just to be safe. And then on the right side, on the right hand side, we have examples of documents that you may that we recommend that you not carry on you. So these are typically going to be foreign issued documents, so from your home country. So this may be identification cards, as we have listed here, maybe your passport, and then not pictured here would be any fake documents. Having fake documents or documentation here in the United States is a crime, so please do not present those or carry those on you. And in regards to foreign documents, they're still very important documents to have, but they can be safely put in the house with the rest of the important documents for your family preparedness. But we recommend that you do not carry foreign documents on you as it's to prevent ICE from having probable cause that you are from a different country. Okay, so what to do if you encounter ICE in public? So public would be anywhere where anyone, the general public or anyone can access. So this could be the streets or the sidewalk or the parking lot. So anywhere where anyone can just be allowed to walk and be present. So if you do encounter ICE in public, it's important that you do not run away. Please remain calm. Say as little as possible and declare that you are exercising your constitutional right to remain silent. If they are asking you questions in regards to your immigration status, how long you've been in the United States, anything that you do not feel comfortable answering, you have the right to remain silent. Ask if you are being detained. If not, if they say no, ask if you're free to leave. And if they say yes, you're free to leave, please leave the scene as calmly as possible. Walk, do not run. Do not sign any documents and ask to speak with an attorney. And again, do not give any information about your country of origin, especially if you do not feel comfortable in doing so. And again, never present false documents. That is considered a crime in the United States, so never present false documents if you are if you're asked to present documents. So that was what to do if ICE is in public areas, but it's a little different if they're in private areas. And so ICE agents can enter any public space, as I mentioned before. However, to enter private spaces, an agent must have a valid judicial warrant. So like the warrant that I mentioned earlier that's signed by a U.S. judge. So first, it's important to identify or just know what are considered private spaces. So some common ones would be your home. Your home is considered a private space. So, if you have a house or your apartment, it's considered a private area. At your workplace, this may be the break rooms for employees, the bathrooms, offices, or if you work at a restaurant, it could also be the kitchen. At schools, this could be classrooms, teacher or staff rooms, closets, or even locker rooms are considered private. It's important that if you at your workplace or at your school or wherever you may be, to identify the private areas, especially at your workplace. You can consult with your supervisor, or your manager, or your team to identify which areas of the workplace are considered private. And you may also demonstrate that with signage, such as the example here that says private, do not enter. So if ICE does come to your school, your job, or house, or any private area, you should ask the officer to show any documentation. So ask the officer to present a judicial warrant. And if they do have a warrant and they're willing to present it, ask that they show it under the door or against a window. Never open the door for them to 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 view or to examine the warrant. If they enter forcibly, it's important to not resist and remain silent. And please remember your constitutional rights. So, again, do not say anything, do not sign anything. You have the right to consult with an attorney. So, as I mentioned before, unfortunately, I cannot give legal advice during this presentation. But if you do have questions in regards to your immigration case or a loved one's immigration case, or just want to know a little bit about the legal options or benefits or risk of attaining some sort of relief, um, please consult with an immigration attorney. And here are two links to get started with. So the first QR code, you can search by state or postal code or zip code. And then the second is to search by state. These are low cost nonprofit organizations that you may be able to reach out to for those resources. And so feel free to save this. We also have some referral lists on our website available as well. So, how to support the community, especially during these times. So, it's better that we work together, and fight for each other, and protect one another. And so, the first one is to know your rights and share them widely. So, you're doing the first step by attending this presentation. So, take the knowledge that you learned from today and share it with your community, share it with your loved ones. So you can also share that Know Your Rights information from trusted sources. So as I mentioned before, we have our own resources page. So feel free to consult that resources page and maybe print out some resources or share some resources out to the community. We also host our monthly Know Your Rights presentations, one in English and one in Spanish every month. And so you can also share the links to that to loved ones or community members if you would like for them to attend those presentations. Number two, mutual aid to community members in need. So it's important to report and document ICE sightings to your local rapid response team. Even if you're a little unsure, it's best to report it so that they could verify the sighting. Please help support families with everyday life. So if you have the capacity to, you could drop off food, groceries, or prepared meals to your loved ones or your neighbors that are afraid to go outside right now. Or if they have young children, you can offer rides to the kids to their school if the parents don't feel comfortable at school drop off. And then number three, share legal aid assistance or maybe even consult with legal aid assistance if you need it. So the first one is us, so Immigrant Defenders Law Center. We have a referral sign up if you would like to be signed up for potentially being represented by us or some of our resources. You can consult with our resources page as well, or follow us on social media. And then the second one is Clue Bond Fund. So as of right now, this is a community-based fund in which they are providing financial support to individuals who have a loved one that's detained by ICE and they need help paying the bond to release them from detention. And so it is an application process for Southern California community members who are affected and they need the financial support to pay for bond. And so please feel free to look into the Clue Bond Fund if this applies to you or applies to anyone that you may know. And you may also consult with them if you have any questions about the bond fund. So again, community resources. So this is our community-based resources page. We have resources in regards to immigration forms and instructions. such as work permit, change of address, change of venue, if you're in immigration court proceedings, that sort of thing. And then we also have know your rights information. So what to do, know your rights at a hospital, know your rights at an ICE check-in, know your rights at school, in public, etc. And so you feel free to consult with our website, scroll through our resources page for those really helpful community-based resources. And you can scan that QR code that's available. And then we know right now that maybe many of you or many community members might be afraid to call the police right now or call 911 in fear that they are working with immigration enforcement. Here in the state of California, police should not be working with ICE. However, if you are if you are afraid, there are alternative phone numbers that you can contact. However, if it is a grave emergency, if you are fearing for your safety or your life, or you fear for your own well-being, feel free, please, to call 911. But here are some alternative hotline numbers instead. So the first one is LA County based. This is our alternative crisis response hotline. So this is a 24/7 helpline in which it offers safe and specialized support for any individual that is going through a mental health crisis. This is an alternative to calling 911 and having police or paramedic intervention. So feel free to call this phone number or save this phone number on your phone. And then additional ones are the National Domestic Violence Hotline, Suicide Prevention Hotline, Human Trafficking Hotline, Sexual Assault Hotline, and Runaway Safe Line. So feel free to save any of these phone numbers that may apply to you. But again, if it is a grave emergency, if you're fearing for your safety or your well-being, please feel free to call 911. And then, as I mentioned before, it's really important to report ICE sightings if you suspect ICE in your community. Since we are based in California, I have listed here some of the California based rapid response hotline numbers, but you may also look online um, with your town or your city or your state, and then rapid response, and maybe a phone number will come up that you can save on your phone. But here we have California-based hotline numbers that you may consult with. And then you can also follow various social media pages. So Union de Barrio is one that posts ICE sightings and they alert the community. As well, they might also provide community resources and trainings potentially. OC Rapid Response as well. They have their own Instagram page where they also report ICE sightings, and then you can also report them to that 714 number. 805 Immigrant Coalition is based in Ventura County, and they also report ICE sightings as well in the 805 Ventura County area. So 805 would be Ventura County, San Luis Obispo County, Santa Barbara County. And then at the very bottom is our website. So we offer these Know Your Rights presentations. We post them on our social media page. So feel free to follow us and be alerted of an upcoming training. We also post Know Your Rights information, know your rights and like informative videos, as well as updates on litigation that we're doing, or maybe even some happy news in regards to the cases that we're representing, because we need that more than ever. And then again, as I mentioned earlier, during the slide about what to do if you're detained, Immigrant Defenders Law Center has a legal resource rapid response hotline. So if you are a Southern California community member and you are detained by ICE, or you know someone that's been detained by ICE and they need to be connected with legal resources, feel free to call our phone number at 213-833-8283. We run this hotline from Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. If we do miss your call, because sometimes we do experience a high call volume, please leave a voicemail. Leave a voicemail with your name, your phone number, and maybe some additional information about the loved one that's been detained, and we will get back to you when possible to assess and help you. So feel free to save this phone number on your phone, pass it around to any Southern California community member that may need it. But again, this is not to report ICE activity. So to report ICE activity, please consult with the rapid response hotline of your county or your community. And this is only for legal resources. All right, well, thank you so much for attending tonight's presentation, and thank you for spending your evening with us. I'm going to stay a little bit just in case anyone has any questions. and feel free to stay and ask any questions. Okay, as mentioned before, I'm going to stay back a little bit in case anyone has any general questions about the presentation, or maybe about our asylum clinics or any pro se services we offer. Pro se essentially means self-help, so we provide assistance for certain applications. Um, but if not, feel free to enjoy the rest of your evening. Okay. Well, I'm going to end the presentation now. Thank you again for joining us, and thank you for everything, and please enjoy the rest of your evening.